reusable nameplate. Do we have folks on the line? Oh, we do? Okay. Here. So let's go around. This is a quiet group this morning. So we'll start with Becca. Just introduce yourself, what you're doing here this morning, and what's the thing you're most looking forward to for fall.
My name is Becca Boone. I'm with CDE School Nutrition Unit, and I specifically work in procurement. That's my area of focus in farm to school. I am most looking forward to canning some fruit this fall. I'm a big canner and jammer, so I'm ready for fruit season.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolan with CHAPA, and we manage the Colorado Fresh Fruit Financing Fund, and so that's my role here for today. And most looking forward to for fall, I gotta say football.
Hi there, I'm Erin Lee, and I'm here with Puma as well as what Tim just mentioned, the Colorado Fresh Fruit Financing Fund. And I'm looking forward to temperatures being 10 to 15 degrees cooler.
Hi, my name is Sandy Hirsch. I work with food distribution programs in the Colorado Department of Human Services. So I work specifically with PFAP and CSFP. What I'm most looking forward to is Halloween because my daughter's coming to visit for that week.
Hi, I'm Lynette Namba. I'm with Kaiser Permanente, and ditto, I'm looking forward to cooler temperatures.
Dara Hesse with the Colorado Health Foundation. I'm also looking forward to Halloween. I absolutely hate dressing up, but my husband gets so into Halloween, and he makes our house insane with fog machines and crazy zombies that roll and all kinds of crazy stuff. So.
What neighborhood are you in?
I'm in Stapleton.
Hi, I'm Andrew Stricker, and I think I'm looking forward to Halloween as well. My son's 4 years old, and so this is the first year he's going to be able to pick out his own costume.
Cute.
Hi, I'm Leticia. I'm working with the Blueprint, and I'm looking forward, Thanksgiving. The day that you can eat whatever you want and nobody judges you.
Hi, I'm Karan Porter. I think the biggest thing I'm looking forward to is my twins. They love Halloween, and that's all they keep talking about every day. Even though we're not even close to Halloween, so.
Hi, I'm Ruben Gregory. I'm at Children's Hospital Colorado and on the Sustainable Food Policy Council for the city. And I'm going to North Carolina next week, and I'm looking forward to getting out of town for a few days.
Hi, I'm Wendy Muschetti, Livermore, Colorado, and I'm really looking forward to the aspen changing. And I like to follow the aspen as much as I can, like start up north and then end in New Mexico in mid-October. So.
I'm Donna Garnett. I'm with Montbello Organizing Committee, the Montbello Fresh Low Initiative, which is wearing me out. I'm looking forward to fall, specifically all 23 of the Fresh Low cohorts across the country are convening in New Orleans the third week of October, and I can't wait for that to be over so I can spend the rest of the week in New Orleans.
Great. Good morning, everyone. I'm Erin Ulrich. I'm the director for the Blueprint to End Hunger. So this is going to be really nerdy, but I'm really excited for project teams to start kicking off with work groups and to get a little bit of infrastructure and action happening with the Blueprint. So yay. But I like fall too.
I'm Megan. I work with Cooking Matter. I'm probably most excited about probably Halloween as well. I have lots of nieces who like to dress up and like me to dress up with them. So it's a good excuse to get to wear a pirate outfit for a random period of time. Doesn't even have to be Halloween.
I'm Julie Atwood with the Integrated Nutrition Education Program. And a week ago, I would have said I was looking forward to cooler nights so I could sleep, but I got a new swamp cooler a week ago, and I love summer again.
Mark Jacobson with Hunger Free Colorado. Recently moved from Texas, so I'm excited about the fall colors, which we don't really have too much in Dallas. So very excited about that.
Hello, I'm Erin Pulling with Food Bank of the Rockies. I'm headed to Palisade right after this meeting, so I'm going to skip out a few minutes early, visit a bunch of our partner agencies there, and I will be picking up a lot of peaches.
Yay! And let's go to our friends on Zoom. Anybody just jump right in.
Hey, this is Lindsay. I'm down in Alamosa with the Food Bank Network of the San Luis Valley. And for fall, I'm really looking forward to the aspens and the cottonwoods, but I'm also really excited to not have to mow my yard anymore.
Great. Someone else jump in?
Hey, this is Matthew with the American Heart Association. I'm a senior director for our rural health initiatives across, I really cover 6 states in our region. And I am most excited for everything pumpkin spice. Actually, that's a joke. I'm really interested. I'm ready for football season, so.
Someone else?
Hi, this is Aubrey Day down at El Paso County Public Health. I'm psyched for sweaters and sweatshirts.
Hi, this is Amy Pisani with the Food Bank for Larimer County in Loveland, Colorado. And I am most excited for cooler temperatures only at night so I can sit in my hot tub.
Okay.
This is Hayden Dansky with Boulder Food Rescue. I find all of the dying plants very beautiful.
Hi, this is Heidi Hoffman with the Colorado WIC program. I'm looking forward to cooler weather so I can wear a scarf.
Scarf? Anybody else? Great. So, Erin, a question for you. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about Leticia?
Sure. Well, Leticia can also tell you a little bit about herself, but I can introduce her first. You all noticed that Leticia announced herself as a Blueprint staff member, so she's had joined our staff 3 weeks ago. So still getting oriented, but take a chance to meet her. She has been awesome in terms of helping us get and keep organized. She was a school secretary for DPS for 24 years. And recently retired from that position, and it's just been a great asset to our office. And then we'll also be supporting some of our translation and interpretation services that we're going to be providing into the Spanish-speaking community. So, do you want to do a quick introduction of yourself? On the spot.
I know, on the spot. Like Erin said, I worked for DPS 24 years. I did a lot of community engagement and parent liaison. I came to the United States when I was 8 years old, so my parents were not very, obviously, familiar with anything, so they were very separated. I made it a point that when my kids went to school, be engaged, let parents know the importance of education, not only education-wise, but what DPS can bring, and all the information is out there for parents. So that's when I started working 24 years, loved it, but it was time to do something different. And when I heard about the Blueprint, it just lighted up my heart, being another ways to let communities know, get involved, and know all the supporting agencies that are out there that most parents don't know about in low-income communities, just because we don't have the resources of finding out. So that's when I was loved to apply and was able to join the team, and I'm loving it. Still got lots to learn. Thank you for Andrew and Kevin and Erin that are just being very helpful. But I'm hoping that I can be, an asset to the team and just get involved in the communities and all the organizations. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Leticia, and welcome. We're pleased to have you as part of the team, and you're in the right work group today. I don't know about those other work groups, but community engagement and getting people involved is really what this work group is about, these two work groups. So, Erin, I think you're up.
Sure. So I just wanted to provide, I know we've been talking about a lot around kind of roles and responsibilities and the work that we've been doing kind of within the blueprint to develop out and solidify some of the infrastructure pieces. So we had a governing council retreat last Friday, which was really great from my perspective. There's a couple other people that were there, so you can fill in if it wasn't. But I think, you know, for us, we really went through kind of a pretty deep process around our values. So we had a steering committee, as many of you know, who came up with a list of 6 values and really talked through as a governing council and with the work group chairs kind of what those values mean and how we were planning to operationalize them. And then we spent a really good chunk of the day really talking through roles and responsibilities. So how are we all interfacing with each other? We have the Health Foundation as a funder, we have the program office as the implementer, we have work groups as committees of the governing council, but obviously working really closely with the program office. We have a governing council, so just really kind of hashing through what those roles and responsibilities look like. So we will have some notes from the retreat are coming from our facilitator by the end of the week. We'll have a report sometime in the next few weeks that we'll be able to kind of share back out with all of you. And not everybody needs that level of detail, but I think it's really helpful to know. So if you don't want it, don't read it, but if you do want it, it will be there. And also we'll have a document that the Health Foundation graciously put together for us just around the history of the blueprint and kind of why it was created and some of the original intents, which I think are also really helpful in thinking about how we move forward. So all in all, a really good day, and there will be some really good information that will come out of that. It's not ready yet, but it will be. Another couple of things I just wanted to provide an update on was just some of the things that I had heard in my conversations with work group participants in the surveys, as well as with the governing council. I think we are still kind of navigating through what funding looks like, and I think that's been a question that keeps coming up in work groups of like, we'll present it to the governing council and then they'll give us money. So the governing council currently isn't sitting on a pot of money, but I think there are resources out there that the governing council and the program office are committed to supporting project teams and securing. But again, we're not sitting on $5 million that as soon as we get a proposal, we're like, great, go. So I think that's helpful for the prioritization process of work groups, just to know that we will have to seek resources for whatever projects we come up with. And then the other was just to provide a quick update on where the other work groups are at, because I think there's a lot of overlap between the work groups, and that's something in terms of roles and responsibilities we're going to be defining out what that interface looks like between work groups and the governing council and the program office, so that we can make sure that all the projects that are coming out of work groups are aligned and working together, and we don't have duplication even within the blueprint projects. So work group 1 is been focused on increasing public and political will around ending hunger. That's a big topic. So I would say for their overall goal, they're in a really similar space to this group of, where do we even begin? There's 100 different places where we could start, and any one of them could be positive and a good change. So in terms of a broader group, we are still working through kind of what their strategy or what their prioritization process will look like. But they do have one project that they've also been working on, which is creating some universal SNAP outreach tools. So some really basic materials like posters and flyers and wrap cards that just can do that very initial component of raising awareness around SNAP. So those will be available hopefully by the end of September. So we have a number of SNAP outreach partners at the table for that. Human Services is participating and a number of community partners, and we've piloted the materials with a couple of different organizations, the Center for African American Health and Servicios de la Raza, and they got about 60 people providing input into those posters and tools, which is great. So those, again, will be available later in September for any of our partners to use and download and see how they work. Work group 2-3 is you all, and I'll get to you in a minute because we do have a prioritization process that we're planning on going through today. Work group 4 went through a good prioritization process and came up with 8 different projects. A couple of those projects are projects that are happening anyway without the work group, and so they're just going to be monitoring those projects and providing input as they see fit and relevant. And then they've broken out into 3 different project teams. So they have a project team focused on technology. So underneath that team, there's the opportunity to make changes to Peak, roll out some sort of texting program for SNAP, and there was one other one, and I can't remember what it is right now. Off the top of my head. But so they have a number of projects within the technology realm that they're going to be considering. They have a legislative team that's come together. They have 2 projects that they have potentially identified. One is raising the minimum benefit level for SNAP and WIC. Obviously, that's a pretty heavy lift and not a short-term project, but something that would really change the landscape of both of those programs in Colorado. And then they also are looking at increasing funding that goes towards application assistance. And then the last team that they have is a cross-program referral project, so looking at alignment of different programs, state agency programs, so Medicaid, WIC, SNAP, school nutrition, as well as community programs. So that's, again, a kind of big space, but that group will be coming together to prioritize the specific projects that they're going to be working on. And then lastly, Workgroup 5 spent their last meeting reviewing a needs assessment that the Colorado Department of Education did over the past year. So they had a planning grant from the Colorado Health Foundation to look at what kind of projects they should be doing around the blueprint. And so they presented some of the results from that needs assessment, which I think was a really helpful kind of level setting process for that group. And they're going to be spending their next meeting prioritizing specific projects that they could be working on. So everybody's moving forward, I think in different ways and at different speeds. And then I would say, the goal for today, and Donna, feel free to chime in on this one, for this group is to really take a look at the strategies. You all have had some great conversations the last 2 meetings around the strategies that were defined in the blueprint, in really kind of getting clarity on those, as well as the goals, getting clarity on those, getting some consensus from this room about what those mean. And so today what we're going to do is a prioritization process around the strategies, knowing that the strategies are still probably bigger than any one project, but I think if we can identify a few strategies for this group and kind of start to break out into smaller teams and have that conversation about, what are the questions that we still need to answer in terms of identifying project level, who's missing from the table, so who is the subject matter experts on those specific strategies that we need to kind of bring into the fold and have as part of this process. We'll be able to make some more progress on getting specific projects defined for this group. Anything you would add?
Actually, I was going to ask Mark. Mark and I are both on the governing council and we're present through that. Mark, do you have other reflections, observations, afterthoughts that you'd like to add?
Not a whole lot to add to that. Erin did a great job of summarizing all of that. Just excited. I think there's a lot of folks on the governing council that are, just energized by the retreat in terms of how we can really move this forward. And it's a step-by-step process, building the groundwork to create good potential for action. And I think those steps are happening, and I'm very excited about it. I was able to attend the Workgroup 4 meeting, and there's a lot of excitement there about those project teams that Erin described and where that's going. So I think this, collaboration is already showing a lot of fruits, and as we move forward through this process, it will continue to do so.
Any questions for Erin or Mark or I about other outcomes or the governing council just in general? Did you want to say anything about membership or how that might be changing over a short period of time?
Yeah.
Or long?
Yeah, so a couple of the priorities that came out of the governing council retreat, so we started drafting up kind of a work plan, so both by the end of September, work plan, and then starting the implementation grant, which I did not mention, and that's also been a question from a lot of people. So we have an implementation grant with the Colorado Health Foundation that now is going to be starting on October 1st. So people have asked quite a few times around where we are in the 5-year timeline of the blueprint, because the blueprint was rolled out out in January of 2018. Well, it's great news that our 5-year timeline is actually going to be kicking off on October 1st of this year. So we'll be resetting, and we'll actually be into, I think, a lot closer and into implementation in a lot of cases. So it makes a lot of sense to be calling it implementation. So a couple of the things that we've talked about that as a governing council and a program office we really want to prioritize. One is obviously creating a budget and a work plan for the implementation grant and getting that approved. But one piece of that is really looking at membership of the governing council. So I would say we have done a really good job with the governing council of getting our organizational partners to the table, and done less of a good job around getting our community partners to the table. And so that's something that we're going to be prioritizing in terms of membership and making sure that we have representation from kind of a broad variety of stakeholders, not just the anti-hunger organizations in the state, which is also great. So, yeah. Last plug, I will say really quickly, we have 2 positions posted right now for the Blueprint as well. So we have a community engagement manager and a policy and communications manager that are posted on the Trailhead website, and also were sent out through the newsletter, and those positions close on Friday. So people can submit applications, or if you know anyone that you think would be great for that, let me know. We have over 200 applications for one of the positions, so if there's somebody that you know that is applying and you'd like to highlight their name, I am reviewing personally all of them, but in case there's anything missed, if you have personal recommendations, please let me know.
Any questions?
This is Megan. For the shared universal SNAP outreach materials, is the expectation that those would replace all of the other materials that exist, or they would just be in addition to those materials?
Yeah, so, yep, got it. So the expectation for those SNAP outreach materials was really that, so they will be modifiable. So different, if it's a SNAP outreach partner, for example, that wants to use the materials, they can modify them with their contact information. So the kind of call to action will be a text box on a PDF that will be modifiable based on the partner that's downloading it. The idea was really just to have something that, like, any community-based partner, there's a template for it, could take from the website, download, print, use in their agency or clinic or organization. So it was really just to have something that's more broad and usable by anyone.
And actually, Dara, I have a question for you. Not precisely related to this, but I know that the coalition planning grant RFP, people were, or those applications or those applicants were to address how, or they were to talk about their coalitions and how they would address goals 2 and 3. Can you sort of give us an update on where that process might be?
I know I was debating if the timing is right. We're like right in the middle of it, and we'll be putting out an announcement next month with the organizations or the coalitions that were selected. We will have, I think, around 15 organizations, and anticipate that we'll have representation across Colorado, which is really, really exciting. So those there are program officers assigned to different proposals based on where they are geographically. So that those reviews are underway, and I'll be able to share more kind of who's selected soon.
And maybe you can't answer this question yet, but just to throw it out there for contemplation among your staff and team here, how will those coalitions integrate with the work that's happening here in the work group?
So that is an excellent question. I don't have a firm answer for you all today, but that is 100% on our radar. And Erin has been closely involved in the process and will continue to be, and we'll be fleshing that out. We hope to have a kickoff for the initiative in October. And we're just kind of starting to think through exactly what that will look like. But, you know, there will be a very close connection to the blueprint. Obviously, it's intended to move the needle on goals 2 and 3 of this committee. So how we connect those coalitions into the work group and the governing council, and obviously with Erin, TBD, but it absolutely is what we're aiming for.
Right. I'm encouraged by hearing there might be up to 15 grantees, because what that says to me is that now we're going to have an army of across the state working on 2 and 3?
There's a huge level of interest. We actually got 34 applications from groups across the state, and we just would love to fund every single one of them. But we internally have, I think 15 was like, I think we were sort of thinking 10 to 12, but honestly, there's so many great proposals that I think we'll probably go up to the tippy top of our limit. But, you know, like, we're having our grant review meeting in a couple of weeks, so we'll know more then. And I did just want to mention, Aaron commented, it's not related to this, but in terms of funding, obviously, the Health Foundation is supporting the operations of the program office, and we have this funding opportunity that we're running, and it is so closely aligned. This work, obviously, is closely aligned with our priorities here. That said, and I don't think we've sent out an invite yet, but we plan on hosting a funders convening in October, on October 14th. You'll get an invite. You better be there, no, I'm just kidding. Where we are really gonna we've had sort of updates with funders, and sort of let folks know what's been going on, but this is really where we're gonna kind of, put forward a clear path and ways for funders to engage, and places where they can come in and support different components of the work. Alexis and Aaron and I are collaborating on that meeting to kind of build out the agenda. We have a long list of funders that we'll be inviting to that, and are really hopeful. We see ourselves as helping to, bring attention and visibility to this work, and recruit funders that hopefully will bring some resources to the table. So that is in the works.
Very good. Thank you so much. Anybody else have questions or comments, thoughts? Folks on the phone, feel free to jump in. Do you have things you want to bring up? Okay, great. So we, Andrew or Letitia, I understand we have some slides to sort of, is that true?
I don't have any slides. I do have the information that's in the handout.
Okay.
That we can put up on the screen for people.
That's great. That's what, you can put those up there. I think what we wanted to do was just spend a few minutes going through the document that we have in front of us relative to goal 2 and 3, and then we'll get to the prioritization activity. Primarily, what we wanted to do was to see if there are questions. Do people actually know what we mean by these different strategies and the questions? You'll have to look on the back side. Just note that that this copy is front to back, and I'm hoping everybody on the phone has this document in front of them. So why don't we just start first on the first page here. There are 3 goal 2 strategies on this front page. Is there anything we need to clarify, or any way we need to clarify these 3 points?
I just have, sorry, can I have that?
Oh, yes.
Sorry, this is Wendy. Just one thing to clarify is that very first strategy, we did not propose that as a strategy after our last breakout. We were flagging that as an issue for the governing council to say, we feel like we don't know where these issues belong because it's not adequately addressed in the framework of the blueprint. So we kind of punted on that is what we did. It's not actually a strategy.
Okay.
That's why it's not written like one.
Okay.
So I don't know if we want to deal with that later.
Yeah.
So that's easy to prioritize off the list.
Okay. All right. Because that's something that will, that's something that will come back to the governing council, or you're asking for that?
That is what we proposed. I'm looking at other people that were in this room with me. Kim just walked out. That's so great. And Aubrey, you were on the phone, I remember, but or Andrew, you probably remember, when we reported back, we said, we came up with, there's sort of a slew of sort of more food systems, food production, from gardening up to larger scale food production type strategies that could be included here, but we didn't see how they really fit within the blueprint as written. So we wanted to flag that as an issue, that these are issues we would like to address. We don't really know how to write them as a strategy.
Just from my own perspective, I think it fits better into goal 3. I think it is potentially part of ensuring consistent availability, but we can sort of table that piece for right now. What about the second, the next 2 cells on that matrix? And feel free to ask for clarification, because we have Wendy here and she worked on that.
And Tim, anyone else that was in that group, please read these, because I sent Kevin a lot of edits after the meeting, so I hope we captured them correctly. So Tim, Aubrey, please review.
Right now, I don't know that I understand.
Say it again.
What are you asking for right now?
Well, what we're asking for is, do people need any clarification about what this means?
Okay.
You know, if we're gonna do prioritization of different strategies in a few minutes, we just wanna make sure that it's clear what is meant by these, strategies. Do we need better wording? Do we need just clarification?
On the third one, what programs are referenced there? What kinds of programs?
Tim. This is Wendy. So we also did not pose that as a strategy, nor did we write it as a strategy. So if I remember correctly, we also were just making a sort of a caveat across all strategies, that because a lot of these could be written and have been written and could be interpreted as, we want you to start new this, or start new businesses here, or create a new project here, when at times, it could be that this is really about a retention of what really good work that's already going on. So it's a sort of a caveat statement. Is that, Tim, and Khalid was very articulate about this, and I'm butchering it, but.
Yeah, I think you're right. You know, as I was looking at this stuff, it seemed to me that the discussions that we had on the other sheet were sort of more informative of what we were thinking about for strategies, more so than this document, which is very comprehensive, but, you know, I'm not sure that it captures the spirit of kind of what we were talking about. And so I'm wondering if it might be, beneficial to, if not break out into groups, then at least kind of just take a few minutes to go over the discussion that we had about what were some of the issues and some of the things that we wanted to look at. Do you think we could start with that?
How do people feel about that? Would that be helpful for 2 and 3? Okay. Everybody okay with that? I'm sorry for, if we do that, it does make it a little more complicated for people on the phone, so I'm not sure how to address that.
I'm okay with that.
Go ahead. Somebody on the phone was going to speak.
This is Juanita, and I was just saying that I'm okay with that.
You're okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody not okay with that? Great. All right, let's have everybody who worked on group 2 sort of congregate over in that part of the room, and everybody who worked on 3 congregate over here. And let's, 10 minutes, is that enough time to just quickly go back through where you want to be? Does that sound okay?
I think that's perfect, yeah.
Okay. All right, 10 minutes, everybody, go. Can we have our numbers, everybody on group 3, just kind of circle around here? You weren't here, so you went in wherever. What do you want to do? Who else was on 3? Okay, good.
Are you waiting on behalf of what?
So people on the phone, can you just type into your chat box which group you'd like to join, 2 or 3, and we'll figure out a way to get you there?
I'd like to be 3.
This conversation.
everything else here.
Ron's gone. Ron's gone.
That's where I was getting a little bit.
Those are our comments.
Yeah.
I reviewed this from Tim, and I used it, and I put all our notes there, those weren't on there.
Oh, okay.
Everything else I checked is a strategy down the road.
Okay.
I looked at, number 1 and 3 here is this, comments for non-purchasing.
All right, so number 2.
Did we have that? No, I don't know about it.
Convene separately, right?
No, at the last meeting, we had our group in here, and then 2 met in that real estate.
Yeah, unless, there wasn't another meeting. Yeah, we just broke out.
So the first deal 3.
That first one, goal 3, redistribute and preserve food, increasing partnership, et cetera. To me, that reflects exactly what we talked about, but I just want to make sure that others don't reflect or new people to the conversation are understanding.
Because it still took years. Because the strategy is increases healthy food retail, and the way we would do that is through local.
Not being a person that works in that realm at all, I don't really have a,
Yeah.
we're in that group.
Tell me what you want. When you were saying how you go.
Oh, your colleague.
All of whatever you want. Yeah.
Right, any.
It's a theme, I guess, like.
Want to change anything about that?
I think that's my favorite, like,
Please leave that one there. Right on the other side.
even though they're all exactly.
Reports of
Some of them are gonna be-
Improve and extend the current tax incentives to local farmers, and increase coffee, food pantries.
You're prioritizing to say, is there an area that makes sense to start? Is it already happening, it's already tracked, it's already funded, and it has a real chronology. Is that for the financial feasibility, is that just sort of like funding?
The focus here sounds like is on local rather than healthy.
Say that on what?
The focus is on local rather than nutrition.
But I think it's specific to farmers, so we're assuming that it's not processed and therefore mostly healthy by default.
We did have some conversation that day about the fact that we wanted to keep ensuring that nutritious and healthy always sometimes work in food pantries and food banks.
I'm gonna try and grab.
Not necessarily, characterized by being nutritious.
The biggest piece here, I think, well, the complications, well, I don't know about complications, but the difficulty with charitable crop donations for farmers and how it doesn't worth their time, we talked about that. Lindsay from Workgroup, is Mark over there? Obviously, the food pantry assistance grant is a huge thing that we should get behind and hope that comes back with even more money this coming year. I was at the Mile High Farmers annual convention last night, and that talked about some of these pieces. It'd be great to have an officer from that group here, or at least, are we gonna break out and continue to meet separately? Or are we gonna stay as a group?
Subsequent meetings or today?
I don't wanna add people to a group that's already large.
I think the hope was, again, sort of learning from some of the other charities where
There's different strategies about how.
we ended up having a lot of conversation about that. And it does seem like that the other groups are finding that they can move more nimbly and get action and traction by being in separate meetings, et cetera.
So we tried to do a strategy
I don't know,
to reflect on
we decided that we want to take that approach. Meeting at the end was that the split between 2 and 3, or there was enough concern that was not just completely stay separate, but we continue to have the cross discussion. I don't know, did that answer your question or just?
Yeah.
That's actually was
Mark and I were recently talking about the charitable tax credit and cross donations. It seems like it's so underutilized.
Yeah, if I'm mistaken, there were some cap makes it not worth it. Yeah, I mean, while it may not be, it may not seem as much work for a farmer who's not savvy with that kind of paperwork and filing. I mean, that's one piece, yeah, that, oh, we can only do it for this much, I don't have the time. If it were more, maybe it'd be worth my time. Anyway. No, it's a budget item, it's a line item for the state, that only came about a year ago, right? This will be the second year. Yes.
I was like, minutes.
They do, and an organization called Onward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Onward.
They're in Southwest Colorado. Yeah, there were obviously some politics behind why it got cut, and Lindsay seemed to think, or their lobbyists seemed to be optimistic about it going back up, but whatever we could do as a union.
And we started talking about how we can have leverage those dollars rather than each answering negotiating with one person. Like the food bank could do
Yeah, we should talk more. There's just some old negativity around the food bank using it. It even came up last night. Trying to educate people are like, hey, it's not, FBR is not turning around and charging them. Right. So, I don't know. I think there's some re-education of folks. Oh, sorry. Yes.
Here, I don't know legally for this, but I think funding it was I don't need to go regular bill or whatever.
It's a line item that has to be renewed each year, yeah.
That I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, this is the place where we're going to work with looking at policy changes, because, that would require a legislative lift and involvement in what sounds like happens right now.
Yes, he told me that.
All right, sorry to hold us up.
No, that's not, this is what we should be doing, clarifying. But here's a place where I want to just ask a question about community gardens, because I know it's our community, and maybe it won't be an issue for Denver, because we have the feeding healthy kids piece, but, this approach to building out food literally grown in the community and distributing, it's a very important part of the work that we're doing. And we are moving toward adding 10 to 20,000 pounds of fresh food.
We as
Montbello?
Yeah.
Because we're really creating this whole network of places that are turning, Kentucky bluegrass into food. And people really beginning to utilize that opportunity. So, if there is money there for food pantry, somehow helping those efforts at a neighborhood level, because we contribute our food to food pantries, that's where it goes. So I just throw that out there, where that particular strategy fits.
When you donate your food,
Can you determine what food pantry is?
And ideally, every single one of these guys is
We have the food pantry, we also have the food bank of the Rockies, the distribution that happens at one of the churches. So we contribute there, it augments what is coming in the big truck. And then we also have free no-cost groceries for schools and that sort of thing, where that is the system in our neighborhood, and we're contributing quite a bit to that. When I say we, I don't mean Mark, I actually mean me.
Strategy number 2, you mean? Strategy number 1? Well, there's a lot. I think that's my question, is like, we need to
Okay.
Where do you see that, other than the first goal line? Yeah, besides strategy.
But it is a funding issue as well. Right now, we're fortunate in that we have.
Yeah, that was for that, because we don't have distributed, that's great, it's a challenge.
Well, so we have funding for 5 years, but eventually that will go away, because we're in the group and decide. Because those are some of the things that have come out of that.
And that comes from healthy to her. Healthy for the family.
Something that is of interest there.
Yeah, very much. It's usually us running up against a solid no from the city, but, I mean, we just keep asking and finding, we just need a champion in the city to help us. Next?
Okay. So is that all right if we at least just put a footnote there that possibly include community or community farms?
Could have started, where is that?
I mean, honestly, I would love it to be a separate goal.
I know, right, I think it's about the middle one, you're still talking about the top.
No, I was just asking, was that the play, you mentioned maybe it goes in that middle one, you're suggesting maybe it needs its own, strategy, or as a strategy, all right.
Just throw that out there. Just because, again, I mean, I think some of these will have to be broken down further, as you said, and, there's a lot, and it's just, an idea, if you want to give it a little. Space.
Some of them just feel loose enough that doesn't make sense, but if we're reworking.
So like the ones that are.
I'm happy for it to be a piece of that one about increasing health.
I can say.
Basically what we just sort of added in there, but.
Isn't that the one where we are on?
Yeah, I'm just saying, go back to number 2, and it was the first thing that Wendy said, you didn't actually have that as strategy, it was really about deciding where or if it needed to be supply side issues.
Oh, so speaking of which, so this came out of Lindsay basically saying she was gonna meet with Feeding Colorado.
We have an original document that we're having.
Right, she had a meeting coming up after the last meeting and where we were.
Mark
To talk, what's that?
Mark had met with us. Oh, yeah.
So-
Yeah, we did it, and then it wasn't feeding, Colorado, it was the Rockies.
I just wanna, if everyone's tweaking
Maybe.
about how do we,
Just to talk about the relationship there, and, there's this, I don't know what place the Blueprint has, but I think she was referencing the tension between pantries and their own internal restrictions on junk food versus, and then FBR, which, used to have a lot more junk food, and it's made a lot of strides in reducing that, but also has their hands, correct me if I'm wrong, their hands tied because Feeding America has contractual obligations, to take in food. And so, it depends on who you have at the table. Someone from a pantry may say, no, we want to give out. Other pantries. Again, I don't know where we as Blueprint Working Group, how much energy we want to spend on.
I'm not saying that how do we work it out, how do we,
And ultimately, I think it comes down to, less food or current food? Because the breakdown strategies, issues around and our hands aren't really yes, somewhat, but then another, blend. I don't see that as a strategy, but I think that matters, and then we would have less food, which the community would need to be engaged, I think. For related to this.
And I don't know if that was related to this question I was asking about community,
Remember when we talked about this,
you know,
what it was,
gardening
the
efforts
strategy
and
was
farming.
actually have the, it's for the.
Not directly, no, but it was, I was
So I think that's,
just remembering where this came out of last conversation, in the notes of.
To get there done, I think, but one thing I don't want to limit ourselves just to thinking that community-grown food has to go to food banks, because I think it can be distributed in a lot of ways, so that would be just the only.
So you're advocating for it to be a separate potential.
That's like not something that I'm like sabbatical about being on the work group and so I'm back. Put it in here, just being mindful that it's not just a strategy for the food bank.
No,
Like mom
it's not a strategy.
that low cost grocery or no cost grocery and all that.
That work plan document.
And one of the things that we know, first of all, one of the things we know, your food bank. So one thing that we have learned over 3 years of growing food and having it be there at that distribution at the church every other Thursday is that people go and get that first. So there is some desire to have something freshly grown, that people literally want that first, and then they fill up the rest of their bags and boxes. That's our experience at food pantry, that's our experience at grocery, that when they see that food that literally was just picked and was there, it's gone like that. The other thing that our experience has shown us is that, you know, there's always that large group of people who are fearful about showing up at a food bank or showing up in some sort of institutional setting because they're worried about visitation. It's a very real fear in our community. And so they feel like when they can come by the garden and are farmed or it's distributed right out of their child's pool, you don't have to sign up for it, you don't have to prove that you're in your stand with it. And that's the look at it. I really care about really care about those people who are fearful or who can't qualify for particular.
And it would be how we're talking about it.
Anyway, that's just my speech.
All of
I think all these items in the middle goal are great directions. They're very different things. Increase healthy food pantry. Yeah. And strengthen the capacity and efficiency of local food banks. Huge underserved Colorado.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for taking time out.
No, it has ended.
I never gonna check that.
Okay, so like, but it was like.
I'm happy to write whatever, but I need to know what people want.
I'm happy to offer that.
What? Oh, let's talk about, can't remember. Yeah, I can't know. There's a lot.
Come back to, so, the last goal on this safety, Ryan.
With the way that's written. We did talk about that a lot at the end of our meeting.
Yeah.
And then affordable housing.
They talked about either doing it here or making it its own.
Just the leader strategy for both of them. Word document, right? Screen. And I'm like, who's?
Okay.
Some of the ways we're achieving funding for already up. Yes, similar.
And I think with our focus
Reinforcing each other. Negative behavior.
or the mechanism so much, it's just like, and then if we split out into smaller groups, we can really flesh out what those strategies, those mechanisms are.
Did you have changes to the strategies for?
I want to make sure that you're talking.
I think we probably want to restructure these a little bit, find some, separate. I'm happy to do that, since we're out of time. We're breaking now. I think
Are you thinking we need to change that to
So Workgroup 2, or Goal 2 was good with their strategies, they just needed to delete 2 of them. And there's a lot of conversation I think that needs to happen about strategies, but I think they feel like they have enough clarity to prioritize today. But if your strategies are overlapping with each other, you might want to make sure that it's clear now. Like if the bucket's not clear, then we can't prioritize.
That's fair. I didn't know what we were doing there.
Yeah, so we're essentially, what we want to do today is do prioritization, broader strategy, some are more specific than others. And some of them need some sort of hashing out around what the specific project actions would be. But having a little bit more specificity will help us figure out, you know, to be at the table, we define them, and then we figure out like what projects we should take on and what the landscape looks like. So we don't have to go into a ton of detail about each one, but each bucket needs to be clear. It'll be focus area. So if there's things that you're like, this actually sits completely separate from that, or do you feel like that overlapping right? Or do you feel like that could be part of a group that comes together to kind of hash out the projects?
I've been talking about.
As long as we make sure both are. Do you live with that? All right, are we ready? I think we're ready. All right, folks, let's come back to our seats, and Erin is going to lead us through the next part of our meeting or not.
Okay.
Use that. Thank you. I'm sorry. Yeah. Thank Is this somebody's agenda, Lou? I think maybe. Yeah. No, it's not me. I haven't heard it. All right. Thanks, everyone. I know these goals are huge, and I also know that as we get into teams that are kind of coalescing around each one of these strategies, we're also going to have a lot of discussion and conversation about them. So what we talked about in Workgroup 2 was really that there were 2 strategies that were listed in the work plan document that really weren't strategies. They were more kind of principles about how we go about doing our work. And I'm going to steal yours really quick so I can look at it and see what those are. So the supply side issues, dash community gardens, et cetera, so that was deleted as a strategy. And the third one on that same page, on the first page under goal 2, the focus on retention improvements to existing programs and vendors, not just new development or expansion. So that's just something we want to keep in mind when we're talking about projects versus that being a new project. So those were the only changes we made in Workgroup, or within Goal 2. So we have 11 strategies, which includes all of the Goal 2 strategies, and then there's one strategy that crosses over Goals 2 and 3. Again, we had a lot of conversation. I think there's potential for wordsmithing or tweaking each of those strategies, but really felt like they were clear enough that we can take on a prioritization process, that people kind of knew what they meant in general, and that the more detailed conversations can happen within the work groups that come together around the specific strategies. Does that make sense? And I think Goal 3 is in the same place, so they did not make changes to their strategies. I think there are some potential changes that might need to be made as they coalesce, as a group coalesces around that specific strategy. But that they felt like those strategies did provide enough information for us to be able to vote on them, and then also to figure out kind of who needs to be at the table, and some of the next questions that we need to ask to be able to move forward with those. So, would it be helpful to go through each one and just ask if there are questions about what the strategies mean? Again, we're not going to be wordsmithing the strategies for now, but we do want everybody to understand the intent of each one of these buckets so that you have enough information to be able to prioritize. So we have up on the screen, it's not really goal 2.1, it's strategy 2.1, but I didn't change all the language. Leverage local food hubs and distribution networks to bring more fresh Colorado products to urban and rural food vendors. Does anybody have any questions about what this means?
What was the thinking around, what's included in vendors?
Oh, we have started using the term food vendors. This goes back to the healthy food retail issue brief that I shared a couple of months ago and working with CDPHE, that CDPHE has advised us that it's the most broad word to describe any type, right? Because you say retail, it doesn't include, say, farmer's market.
Yeah,
or
so it would
food,
be inclusive of all that.
Exactly. A little wonky, but very inclusive.
No, I just wanted to make sure that, yeah. And we had said that we would think about what fresh in Colorado products meant, but we can wordsmith that later, but just in case you were wondering.
Andrew, can you go to the next one?
Yep.
Thanks. So increase the consistent distribution of healthy fresh foods to food vendors and retail in urban and rural communities through innovations with established broadline distributors. Questions on that? Okay.
Does everybody kind of understand what we meant by that one? Because we felt like there was an opportunity to work with smaller distributors and helping them reach under-resourced areas, as well as potentially with the larger, sort of the Cisco's and so forth, to find ways to incentivize them to bring them to underserved areas as well. That was kind of the theory behind it. Am I capturing that right, Wendy? Yeah.
And this one is specifically around the larger ones.
Was it larger or was it both?
It was
Or did we divide it? Okay, so this is the larger, and then we broke it out into a smaller two?
No, and maybe, we kind of kept it as sort of like the food hub aggregators and more sort of established broadline distributors. So that's a good point.
The difference between the last one and this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I saw
Yeah.
it too. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Establish and enhance food delivery systems to isolated or resource-limited populations that cannot consistently access existing food vendors, including affordable housing residents. Any questions or clarification needed on this one? Integrate food access into transportation planning and food vendors into critical transit locations and hubs. Questions or clarifications?
I like that one a lot. This was not reflected in the original blueprint, right?
No, in the original blueprint, it said connect transportation to food, or something like that. It was very broad.
Great.
I think, if I remember correctly. So, and I realized too, I may have written this a little bit in a confusing manner, but there's sort of two concepts here.
Yeah.
There's transportation planning, integrating food access into transportation planning, and then separately is a separate concept of integration, which would hopefully come out of good planning, is the physical integration of food vendors into transit hubs, so.
I like it. Okay, so that,
Are those people members, transportation, are they members of the council now?
So I know that somebody has come to one of the meetings, and I think they would obviously be critical partners if we choose this strategy.
Okay.
So that's an example of like, here's a strategy that we don't have the right representation in this work group necessarily to address, yeah.
Is RTD the?
It was somebody from CDOT
Oh,
was participating, but yeah, I think we'd have to look more broadly too. Increase the number and diversify the type of food vendors that accept SNAP and WIC benefits. Probably the most clear one, but if there's questions,
Is this one we thought was, is this relevant to our particular group? Is this the one? Or is this the one that?
I think it is, but I think it is, but, this is Wendy, because, this question has come up though, Tim, because of just throwing the word SNAP and WIC in there.
Yeah.
But just to be clear, work group 4? Yeah. I was getting them wrong. Work group 4 is addressing enrollment issues for individuals. This is squarely focused on authorization of vendors to accept benefits. So we think it's, does that make sense with everybody?
Yeah.
Would it be appropriate in the scope of this strategy, number 5, to include the training of vendors and the experience that they provide to consumers? So I think one of the issues that people have is how it's not just about more vendors accepting WIC and SNAP, but it's how customers perceive they're being treated at that vendor, in terms of just the community engagement lens.
So yes, Megan, and there's also, I think, something that speaks later on to technical assistance, so there may be some opportunity to combine those, or?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So building their capacity and improving the customer experience and a value around that.
And that's a huge and important space. So keep that in mind as you put your prioritization there. That's a big one.
And there's already a whole issue brief written just on it with recommendations.
Which would be a great partnership.
Great place to start. But yes, no more commentary.
Is there anything, so am I hearing that people might want to add the TA component of WIC and SNAP stores?
The capacity building.
2.5?
Just to note too, I think we should look beyond stores. At Children's, we recently became authorized for SNAP. It has taken almost a year to get through our legal team, but we're just coming out on the other side of it and realizing how much TA would be helpful.
So that's why we use vendors very explicitly, because of that reason. You are a food vendor. You are included. Okay. For the TA piece, yeah, so, and build their capacity.
Or do we want to say improve customer experience, build capacity? So is that good for now?
Yes. But in that, we know that when we get into the mechanisms, we would address things like the difficulty of getting through the federal portion before you get to the state.
I mean, and we can always, again, to not wanting to wordsmith to death, we can always,
Later on, we can state assumptions about each of these, as opposed to.
Increase incentives for individuals to purchase nutritious food at a wide variety of food vendor sites across the state.
I don't know why I wrote across the state, but.
I was just going to say, can we just assume that everything is across the state?
Sorry.
Just like everything involves community engagement, everything involves across the state.
That's, yes, cool. Vendor size, period.
Any questions? Okay. 2.7, expand investment efforts and increase availability of flexible funding and financing for food supply chains and fresh food retail options.
Should we say fresh food vendor options, Tim?
Yeah.
Or do you specifically want to call out retail?
It is, and, I think we need to think about, is this a strategy in and of itself, or is this part of like every strategy, right? Or is it overarching?
This is Juanita, and I really.
I mean, maybe we don't need to think of that much about it right now.
Yeah.
But if this is a resource that can be utilized for other strategies, then we should think of it that way, maybe as opposed to just a strategy in and of itself. Just, maybe it could be both, but just something to keep in mind. And for goal number 3 as well, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So in other words, it's not, it doesn't need to be its own separate strategy because it's got to be a mechanism for virtually everything that we have, that we think we want to work on.
Probably not everything, but probably a lot of things, right? I mean, there's things that there are strategies in here, I think, that don't require any sort of financing or money or anything like that, and then there's things that, depending on what the transaction are, that do. Yeah.
So do we want to delete this as a strategy for now, and we got a chat in from Juanita that this should always be an overarching strategy?
Yeah. I think let's keep it as a placemaker, as a placeholder.
Yeah, keep it.
Okay.
Yeah, because, yeah.
Yep.
All right, so this was a strategy that crossed over both goals 2 and 3, so leverage community-based partnerships and existing local initiatives to integrate nutrition education opportunities where Coloradans access food. Increase the amount of Colorado-grown, raised, and processed products, foods being purchased and served by the state's public and private institutions. Good. Provide financial and/or technical assistance to entrepreneurs seeking to start or grow businesses that increase access to healthy food access. Increase access to healthy food. You can delete the second access. Retention of sites and corner stores included.
So this is where I thought maybe is this where it's congruent with the WIC and SNAP technical assistance part? Maybe, maybe not.
Well, and to your earlier point, this seems, I mean, I want it in here, but it is cross-cutting in other ways, right? Because this could also apply to like food hub development, the first strategy, or even the second one with broadline distributors. So cross-cutting, but seems important to call out.
Yeah.
All right, last one for goal 2, provide financial and/or technical assistance to businesses that are working to advance fair wages and new opportunities for workers in the food system.
This is about
That is
the hunger.
aspirational.
The people working to.
Exactly.
All right, so congratulations, we made it through goal 2. Goal 3, redistribute and preserve food, increase partnerships between food services, example, small food growers, hospitals, universities, schools, senior centers, restaurants, hotels, and caterers, and nonprofit food distribution sites, example, food rescues, food pantries, to increase available food.
This will go across all of them, but I think we need to define what healthy means. Or, yeah, I don't know if it's here, but it's throughout all of these, so just want to throw that 2 cents out.
Yep.
So are we saying add available healthy?
No, I just wanted to say it for like all of the goals moving forward. I think we should, like, the word healthy or nutritious is put places, and I think we'll just have to define what that means to us.
So I noticed for all of these goal 3, there's sort of a kind of a category at the top followed by a colon, and then is that just the way they're laid out? It's a little bit different than goal 2.
We're gonna lay them out better after seeing what goal 2 is done. I think, yeah, we just
I'm not
hadn't
saying what, I'm
expanded it.
just trying to, yeah, okay.
I would like to, and a couple other people brought up, if we can bullet them or
So
separate
do those
them.
categories connect back to the strategies from the blueprint? Is that, those, okay.
All right, so we have support the financial feasibility of increasing local foods at food pantries, improve and extend current state tax incentives to local farmers who donate food, and increase healthy food pantry grants for procurement.
It's possible that the sentence after, or the phrase after the colon is actually what we mean, and it's more that the financial feasibility is again part of that overarching, like we were talking about in number 2, in strategy number 2. But it really is to improve those tax incentives.
That makes sense. Next one, increase healthy food at food pantries, strengthen the capacity and efficiency of local food banks and food pantries to reach underserved Coloradans through additional funding and purchasing power and incentives to farmers to supply them.
what do we think about, we could almost eliminate that first line because it's controversial and just use the strengthened sentence.
I think that would be good.
How does the rest of the group feel about that?
This is Juanita
I feel strongly it should be there somewhere, but I think it's actually captured in the goals, so, yeah.
Around like the healthy food piece.
Nutritious goals.
Yeah, yeah. As long as that's assumed or.
Yeah, I think it's assumed, and I didn't want us to get bogged down in the definition of healthy here. I wanted at least to be able to focus on this, but yes, healthy and nutritious should be the focus, whatever we determine those words mean.
Okay. All right, goal, so I think this is the fourth one, strengthen older adult meal programs, maximize access to prepared meals by older adults and those with disabilities through enhancing congregate and home-delivered meal programs. And last one is coordinate with affordable housing communities to determine resident need and access strategies. How is that different than?
I know, that's what I'm-
Two,
I was just looking at that.
strategy 2.3. Establish and enhance food delivery systems to isolated or resource-limited populations that cannot consistently access existing food vendors, including affordable housing residents.
I think the difference between both of these is for sale food versus
Oh.
free food.
Sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah, I think the difference between all of these is the difference between for sale food versus free food.
Okay.
Not,
This is
yeah.
free food, yeah.
And pardon me if that's not the correct language, but I think that's where we made the differentiation across all of these, right? Between 2 and 3.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Non-purchased.
thank you. It's much better to say.
Okay, so I will make a couple of minor changes on the posters that we have on the wall. We have kind of a unique setup today. The Health Foundation is in a retreat today, so we put some things on walls that can't use over here. So all of the Goal 2 strategies are on this side of the room, and then we've got the Goal 3 strategies and the one Goal 2 and 3 strategy over on this side of the room. So essentially our activity is everybody has $1, and you can spend that $1 on whatever strategies you want with a minimum bid of 5 cents, because if we have everybody spend a penny, we'll have to ad for a long time today. So you can't bid on more than 20 strategies, which is still a lot. If you care just a tiny bit about all of them, you can go ahead and do that. But so essentially what you'll do is you'll go around the room for people in the room and spend your $1 on whatever strategy. So just write on the posters whatever amount of money you want to put on that. We will trust that you all are not spending more than $1. I'm going to check on anyone, and we'll have some people doing some addition. For those of you on the phone, Andrew, do they have this document, or can you send them this document?
I've sent this document.
Great. So you have the new document in front of you, which lists all of the strategies. If you can just chat or email in how you want to spend your money, we'll make sure to get it added to the posters for those final totals. So we're going to give probably... So it's $1? You have $1. Between both? Between both.
Across all.
Across all.
Minimum bid, 5 cents.
Minimum bid, 5 cents. So we'll go ahead and get started. Everybody can, we'll reconvene at 11:45. So it'll give you 20 minutes to kind of walk around and look at all the strategies one more time and make your bids, and then we'll come back together as a group and talk about next steps. Good? Actually, I just lied because it takes a couple minutes to add up the totals. So if you can be done voting by 11:40, that would be great, and then we'll come back together at 11:45.
We're gonna vote $1. Okay. Strategy.
I know.
I mean, I was telling you, so, like, with
So, what happens?
I know.
Yeah. You separate, just right on the paper, Erin. Just put our numbers
Just right on the paper, yeah. And the ones on the door are a little bit tricky, so just be gentle.
Well,
Put our dollar towards it.
Like a scale of.
To buy a
So do now have. Sure, fine. Where I want my energy.
I mean, I take up a lot of your time.
Right. I mean, it's unfortunate.
you all are not spending your money.
I'm not,
Yeah, we're And offered.
And there's ones over there on the case.
So, sorry, I didn't give it a point.
I didn't do these.
What are you thinking about these?
Oh, we didn't do that.
It's more like.
How are you?
Yes, are you voting? Oh, sorry, helping me vote.
This is.
I just, drew a couple numbers.
That's a midday snack.
Similar to you.
Like, I can start bringing my lunch to this meeting, because it like overlaps, so I'm always okay. That's weird. Yeah.
Oh, you're $1.
It goes for
$5, yeah, no kidding, across all of them.
And Erin said she was gonna keep track of your dollar because she thought you would have it cheap.
I heard her say it.
I can see it happen. $5, and how, you only have.
I just get $500.
My son was like, so, the school hall literally is, we were excited.
Do you have dollars?
Yeah.
Minimum bid, 5 cents. Write up how much money you want to spend on each strategy.
Okay, so it's not thinking about what's feasible. We have criteria.
Everybody's criteria is going to be a little different.
Okay.
I
didn't know if you were feasible.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's go. We start doing. For
Exactly. That's right.
I'm gonna get on here first.
If anybody types anything in, I can walk around and put it up for them. That's helpful. Oh, good call. I already spent my money. I need to get some steps in, so.
You're happy to spend it.
Yeah, exactly. I love that idea. That never happens in the real world, so.
Are you adding up your dollars?
I'm trying. You can't barter. You can't be like, give me some of your money.
Right? You could, yeah, you have to essentially have up to 20 votes, though, right? 'Cause so you could put one on every.
I think some people are putting 10 cents on everything.
Or 5 cents on everything.
5 cents on everything, yeah, but I did not. You take it.
Yeah.
Your kid started
I
looking.
think so too.
Yeah. They, I had to leave because of school calling. Third week.
Okay. How's the transition going back from?
Fine. My middle child started middle school, so that's always he's on a 504 behavioral learning. I don't know the right word to call it, ability challenge and issue, but pick a word. So it's, yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot to say. It's like really. Well, but they're fine. I mean, you can go back. Yeah. Like, anyway, yeah. My older and younger. Yeah. I love school. Yeah. It should be 12 months. Do you have kids?
No. No, yeah, they just started, one just started kindergarten, and then 2 are starting preschool, so, but they like love it. Like, you know, like the backpack, and like the homework, I mean, the lunch, it's the best. It makes you feel good. I know. Good. That's forever.
I know, right? Just love,
Of learning, yes. Like just not being afraid to be smart.
oh, you're the best thing ever.
I don't want to miss something.
My kids, I can go out. That's gonna be my dad. That sounds terrible.
fun, kids.
It is. Going into it, yeah. Just going. That's the best timing.
Basically change
Purchasing power and incentive to farmers.
Did you get,
I think that.
Did we get a Matthew?
did you, can you put up Matthew?
No, tell me. It doesn't show on mine.
Right up here.
Oh, we gotta.
He seemed like they should be combined.
Yeah, we need the Word document. Was it just Matthew that we had to put up?
No, we've got Matthew, we've got Lindsay, we've got.
Yeah.
Did you get Matthew?
They must have talked about that,
Written down? Come back. You need the Word document, they don't say 2.1 over there.
Yeah, we're confused.
So the one she sent.
That when we come back together.
I'm gonna do. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Oh, this is nice.
All three?
Yeah, of course. Who do you want me to do?
She's got Aubrey covered.
Nobody else typed in?
Want me to go around and add up numbers?
I think we will want to do that shortly.
Just scroll down.
Yeah, thank you.
A couple more minutes, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like not organized here. It's fun. It's my own, yeah, it's my own. 2 points.
Recorded a lot of math, more brains. Thank you for How are you, Mia? Hey, how are you?
Review.
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on, give me a second. There's sort of not bright. It was a thrill. I'm sure you do. And when that says, what's that? Our ideas.
Anyway,
I feel like we should, otherwise, like, it'll get prioritized. Oh, I can each of you individually. Yeah. It's harder than me as a group. Let's not do that. Let's do it. We're going in order. That makes so much sense. I think I'll see Carmen on Friday for our health funder commiserate session that we, I'm like, mostly just to talk, chat and hang out, but. Are there a lot of funders? Yeah, I mean, we're all sort of doing it a little bit differently, but sometimes me, I would help Hillary here.
So you'll know that's where mine are like,
Monica
did the math and passed it over.
Well, she definitely, I mean, there's actually stuff we talked about. They're launching like large, so, or I guess adolescent behavioral health initiatives. We're sort of trying to connect into, there's, Gates, Anna Soler is participating in families, like, a little bit of stuff here and there. I say Carmen. Well, and we're not doing, we're not talking about doing a collaborative initiative or anything like that. It's just to keep everyone up to speed. It's helpful to hear. Obviously, you guys are starting before. We used to have a larger group of players. Grab everything that's over and out.
yeah.
Not spend your dollars? It's more.
I don't know. I don't know what that 7% look for. Much more.
Yeah, I think you and I helped it. All right. So that's why I was like, I don't care if you do the night. I don't care because we're right. Went to Mango House though. It doesn't matter how much. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter how much. I went to the Necklace place. It's like, obviously, if you don't pay money, or have to, have to be at the spot, you know? I'll never forget, there was IEP at a class, and then I got at a school where we did like a farmer's market demo. The little kids were like, I tried this in my class with my teacher. I'm like, why they usually go to the
Well,
exactly. Yeah. I made it, or I made it, exactly. Different. Like, and they had that there, so when they had something like. Yeah. I'm glad you agree. I think it's parents that are saying, like, what are you going to do? And they really do want to so that's all.
That, conference called Closing the Country.
Well, he starts Long as you seem to be doing,
All right, so we're gonna come back together. We're super on time, which is great. So I was gonna keep these up, but they're hard to see in order. So, we arranged our top strategies by dollar amount. And actually, we have, the top 4 have 2 goal 3s, 1 goal 2, and then 1 goal 2 and 3, or the top 5 are 2, 2, and then 1 crossover goal, or crossover strategy. So, the prioritization came across pretty cleanly between the 2 goals already, so we don't have to necessarily break those out, which is great. So the highest dollar amount that we had was $2.25. And you guys can all read this better than I can. Those of you on the phone, sorry, one sec.
You want me to read it?
Holding up. Yeah.
Strengthen the capacity and efficiency of local food banks and food pantries to reach underserved Coloradans through additional funding and purchasing power and incentives to farmers to supply them. That one received $2.25. Goal 3.
Did we talk about the, Wendy, do you think we should?
Strategy number 2.
Strategy number 2 got 195. Whoa, I can hear my voice. Increase the number and diversify the types of food vendors that accept SNAP and WIC benefits, including improving customer experience. $165, support the financial feasibility of increasing local foods at food pantries through improving and extending current state tax incentives to local farmers who donate food and increase healthy food pantry grants for procurement. That was $165. Goal number 3.
Should we say something here? Okay, sorry. So a few of us were confused because this seems to be the exact same as the first one. In fact, there's 2 concepts that are almost verbatim repeated between the 2, so I don't know if that affected how people voted, but it clearly seems like the concept is a high priority.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, so I don't know if it bubbled another one up, like, do we combine those?
Right.
And then like elevate
The
next one
that
down?
would be, yes, there we go.
Sure.
Folks on the phone, does that feel true to you?
Okay, so let's table that for 1 second. We'll go back to those 2 and we can decide as we talk about next steps whether we want that to be 1 group or 2.
Okay.
It sounds like probably 1, so. So the next one was a crossover between goals 2 and 3.
165, leverage community-based partnerships and existing local initiatives to integrate nutrition education opportunities where Coloradans access food.
And then if we're combining the first 2, we'll do one more. Our next step that we have, for project teams.
155, increase incentives for individuals to purchase nutritious foods at a wide variety of food vendor sites across the state.
Awesome. So any thoughts on those 4 that ended up rising to the top? Do those feel like a good place to start? And how many project teams do you feel like are realistic for this group to move forward with?
We picked them up on the wall so we could look at them.
Sure. Let me get
And I put them in here in order of how they were voted.
You have to add another one?
That's the only thing I want to do.
Well, those are the two that are virtually the same.
No, I think so. I don't do this now, it's a mess of stuff that you've got to cancel.
One more.
But I don't know how much.
All right, so we decided what we were going to do. So we have these 4/5 strategies, but 2 of them are the same, so we have 4. If people in the room can do one more physical activity and walk over and sign up for whichever project you'd be most interested in, or if you're interested in joining multiple, you can also put your names on multiple. We're going to be sending out an email with like next steps, more detailed next steps and logistics, but if you could sign up for the ones that you're interested in and then also write down either names of individuals or organizations that you feel like are critical to have at the table for that project team conversation, that would be really helpful in getting us organized so that we can send out the next steps via email. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
And people on the phone, if you can do the same thing, you can chat in what strategy or what strategy you're interested in signing up for, and if there's anybody, individual or organization that you think is missing from the table and needs to be part of that conversation. Sound good? Okay.
Right, and then people will chat it, we'll just write their names on here.
Yep.
I want to be on the. Yes. For my team. Not be on the team.
So I would just write your name on whichever one you're interested in, and then put your organization for whichever one you feel like you guys need to be represented by.
So you're thinking more than me?
Well, because I think for the food stuff and the customer experience, like improving the customer experience, like there's an opportunity there. Is there anybody proposals for next year? So like ours, we have people who specifically work on healthy foods at food.
Okay. So Erin, what happens now? This group team actually, which is a subgroup, and now there's going to be a subgroup of the subgroup. But the people who are on it don't necessarily become part of the weekend. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I think a big idea, and I can just talk about this really quickly before we wrap up, but if the work groups look at the frequency at which the work groups meet, might be just regular, look at a broader group, but the fifth group will take prioritization, the project teams report back in here. Maybe it's essentially a little through that, even if you, a little bit.
No, Lindsay on the phone.
I think like coordinating. Okay. Project teams. I don't know if we're quite ready to do that, because we don't really have the infrastructure.
The project teams are, but how you were thinking about it.
Okay, yeah.
Good nature that distributes smaller
Like dig into the planning of a project.
And what if I have ideas?
And then we can, there's still ways. What if we went all the way up to, yes, what would I don't know what we're gonna do. Okay, but we will, either way, it's fine. Okay.
And then basically, if I put my.
Oh my God.
We could determine the scout.
And we just use,
Okay, yeah.
So you could also just put your name for everything, and then contact. Okay. And when you get it, you'd share it with the starter, you'd be talking.
Who's actually going to attend.
Okay. I kind of nervous about it. Like, I mean, we haven't seen these, yeah.
Baby steps, count your wins, okay? That's what I said, I just had a sabbatical, and I had to come back from it. It wasn't a real sabbatical, it was work, but I was like, you miss a few meetings, and I come back and everybody gets stuff done. Wonder if that's the one. the thing that made me bring that up, and I saw like your summary. I was like, what does it look like? Can you which one thing? What's going on? And I told her, and then I was like, what is actually the goal? Yeah.
That was just,
And then Aaron, like, should we like glean pieces back? I think about all the evaluation. I know, like, how do we back to anyone who's ever attended a meeting and said, now we're focused. Would you like to come back? Yeah, because the blueprint has everybody.
well, but I was.
Okay. So especially for this initialization, we have a consultant. Here's the concrete. Yeah. Like, oh, that was this group. And that's like, as it flows from like 20 minutes. And it can take different people each time. Right. So it was like, it's just hard to like, yeah, like power, you should have the right, like, I know. Yeah, that's a good, I don't know. What's the word? Good question. Well, I'm just like, do we even need that? But I think it came from the group saying, like, like, I don't know. Yeah, I think, so we represent the 3 years, I don't know. Oh, yeah. Yeah. In October, he's like, yeah. We just kind of figured it out. So, and I don't know, you said, typically, like, get things done. Well, and I was thinking for like all the goals that like didn't get passed, there's still like a work going on, a selection. So even like just reminding people that like just because it's not here doesn't mean you can't report back on there's things going on with that or something. Totally. Yeah. Well, and all these from these things that like take more yeah. You guys have that is what we were just Hey, I'm gonna work on this. So there is a lot of that.
But how's that going?
All right. Well, thank you all for doing that process. We are coming up on our time, so I just wanted to provide a quick recap of next steps, although some of the details of the next steps we're going to figure out. So we have a good list started of people who should be on each one of these project teams. So our office will be in touch shortly with a doodle poll on when that project team can meet to the people that have signed up. And we'll also be in touch around recruiting members from the organizations that are listed that don't have specific names on them. We do envision that this work group will continue to meet. I think eventually this work group will continue to meet less frequently. I think the idea is that we have kind of the work group coming together around prioritization of different projects, kind of that broader view of, you know, what's important, what's coming up, where we share updates and information, and then having the project teams be meeting between work group meetings and really focusing on kind of that tangible actions of the blueprint. So that will, again, shift over time. So I think we'll probably want to do the next work group meeting next month, but I think over time we'll kind of move those meetings to less frequently and have them be either every other month or quarterly. But again, having that connection between the project teams and work groups. So we will be in touch. Please feel free to send, if you have any additional thoughts on any of these four in the meantime that you didn't have in the last 10 minutes of today, feel free to email me and we can add additional people on. Or if you have ideas about how to move forward. The other thing that we'll send out in the email is anybody who's interested in leadership positions for these project teams, we will want a project lead or as two for each one of these. So we will be back in touch, and thank you all again for your time.
And then, do we keep track of all the other goals? If there's a way to integrate some of that?
So yes, the question was, will we keep track of the other goals? And yes, we will. So there's a lot of strategies that are happening. So we are I'm in the process of writing out an RFQ for an evaluation contractor. So we're going to be kind of working through that process with them about how we're going to track activities that are happening both within and around the blueprint.
And because we have 5 years, conceivably, we would take on some of these other goals in those years.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we're not throwing out any strategies today. But
Because we're gonna achieve these goals in the first year.
we have 5 years to achieve all of the goals, so, you know. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, being tired or something, doesn't blame me.